deadline for an Iraqi withdrawal from Kuwait passed a few moments ago. All diplomatic efforts to avoid conflict have collapsed.
This morning, Baghdad Radio has rebroadcast a statement made by President Hussein in which he says there will be no compromise with the Allies and claims that the Iraqi army is ready for conflict. The Allied force is now authorized to go to war to liberate Kuwait.
Despite the fact that I am married to a soldier, I never, ever thought I would see him go to war. It is something that I had never imagined. I thought wars on this scale were a thing of the past, that civilization had gone one step beyond. We've had to say goodbye lots of times. In the past, it's always been either an exercise or we've had 2 Northern Ireland tours. And you don't think when they're going, is something ghastly going to happen? But this is quite different because we don't know what the end is going to be.
These are the reconnaissance specialists, and when the ground war starts, they will often be operating behind enemy lines. The 16th 5th Lancers are the eyes and ears of Britain's armoured division. Their greatest fear is stumbling into an Iraqi minefield, possibly in an environment contaminated by chemical weapons. Not only were they practicing mine clearance, but also how to evacuate injured colleagues from their armoured vehicles.
They are up against a man who will do anything, absolutely anything, to achieve his ends. A lot of people are very frightened of the chemical and biological weapons he has. A lot of people are afraid that he might have nuclear weapons. You don't feel your husband's really been a target in the same way before. I feel that they're desperately vulnerable out there.
I think the goodbyes were the worst experience probably I've had so far. You know, it's the first time I've really seen, in 12 years of married life, Richard really, really upset. And, you know, it's awful for him to have seen me really upset and for, you know, for us both to you know, have sort of had to depart like that. And I think that happened to, having talked to lots of other people about their goodbyes, I think it's the same for most people. That was the worst part, was actually saying goodbye. With always that element of doubt whether you were going to see your husband again. You know, at the back of your mind, you wondered whether that was the last time.
Did you ever think that Richard would go to war?
No. I was fascinated by the Second World War and always hoped and prayed that it would never, ever come in my life or my children's life. And I never thought that a war like this would ever occur to such an extent. I mean, I think it's terrifying.
Iraqi anti-aircraft gunners probed the sky with trails of tracer bullets, but no attacking aircraft were visible to the naked eye. It was terrifying to watch an attack on this scale and so close.
I'd actually took some coffee upstairs to bed and Brian said, "It's all started." I came flying down the stairs. And then they did say there was no ground forces being used, which put my mind at ease for a little while. I don't know. Well, the next thing is then waiting and praying that it's not going to be your son involved. He found it hard going in the training, very, very hard. He was terribly homesick. And I found that hard. I wanted to just get in the car and go and get him. And Brian kept saying, no, you don't, you know, it's doing good. And then when all this conflict came up, I said to Brian, let's get him out, let's get him out. And I said to him, he came home for a weekend, and I said, do you want to come out? He said, no way. He said, that sounds awful. He said, I'm going to get me medal. He said, I'm going to go, and I can get promotion if I, you know, he's looking for promotion. He wants to make a career of it, so. We started off, we would build our house this time, and it's been a big undertaking, and there's a lot of stresses and strains to that on its own. And poor Brian's worked non-stop, and yet his heart's not been in it, and neither's mine, because we've been thinking of other things. The day's just been a muddle. You've got up in the morning, you've muddled your way through the day, and really I should be sorting things out and putting things in their proper homes. I mean, poor Mark's bedroom, he hasn't even got a bed up there at the moment. You'd have thought I'd have been the first one to rush out and buy a bed. You know, I should be wanting to do all that. And I haven't wanted to do anything because this has meant nothing to me. It upsets me to think that if he comes back and he's got to be like my dad, where he lives it when he goes to bed and he has nightmares, and he's got to come to terms with the fact that he's done that, because I'm sure that's really what was at the back of my dad's. He never really came to terms with what he actually did to other people, because I suppose we're a sensitive family. God forbid if Mark's anything like that mentally, and that frightens me, because my dad wasn't the same man when he came back from the war, and I suppose if I'm honest, I didn't want any of my children to ever be a part of that, you know. I couldn't say that to Mark before he wanted to join the army, because I thought, if I sort of said anything about wars, like everybody would say, oh, don't be so daft, you know. We haven't had a war, and I said about the Falklands, I've said about Ireland. I mean, how these poor boys even go on, what come back from there? And that's another bridge we'll cross when we come to it, but I just feel I want to protect him. I suppose that's the word I want to do. I want to protect my son. Is that so wrong? I don't know. I can't shield them for the rest of their lives, can I?
This was what remained of one of the missiles which landed on residential apartments in Tel Aviv's northern suburbs. A family of 4, including 2 young girls, were asleep at the time. Like several of the other missiles, the warhead did not explode properly.
I know it sounds hard, although they're telling you about the bombing and they're telling you about the airmen and all the rest of it, you're not listening to that, really. That's going over the top of you. You're just thinking, oh, are they going to mention Mark's lot? You know, are they going to mention the desert rats and things? You're not really absorbing what they're actually saying.
And today, added to the respirators and the protective clothing precautions, nerve agent pre-treatment tablets. This is the first time that British soldiers have been instructed to take these by their military commanders.
They have been taken in test conditions, they have been tried and proven. However, as I say, it is the first time they've been taken on a mass basis in the field.
You've had a couple now.
It's not a tank,
right?
is it?
Yeah, fine, no problems at all.
The mere threat of a so-called dirty war with chemical, biological or nerve agents being used is calculated as an effective weapon in itself. It is countered by good training and equipment and a large supply of squaddies.
It's a mobile house, I think.
Things that might seem quite important when life is following its normal routine suddenly become quite unimportant now. But Philip's got enough on his plate without me adding to it with my problems. In this situation, he isn't simply responsible for people's welfares and their careers, their futures in that sense. He's responsible for their lives. So he's got to get it right. First time, every time. If it did happen that he felt that he had made a mistake or didn't do something as well as he should, he will never forgive himself. He'll blame himself forever. when I leave the house, you know, the armour goes on. It's a shield that you can hide behind, I suppose. When you're on your own, well, you can't run away from yourself. I suppose I feel, in a sense, rather like a big sister to the other girls in the regiment, because Philip's position has sort of put me into that role. It's not a matter of choice, it's there. So in that sense, you feel you've got to be strong, visibly strong, not sort of show too many chinks, particularly for the very young ones who haven't been through something like this before, because I think they expect older people who have had more experience of life to be able to cope.
And they're announcing how many sorties they've done. And you work it out and you think, well, those amount of bombs dropping, it should be flattened. I mean, you don't really understand. You know, to me, a bomb would do a big bit of damage, but that amount should have completely flattened. And why is it still going on then? You know?
Why isn't it over?
Because it's not as easy as it seems.
Yeah. Like our husbands as well, I know before Roger went, his concern was there'll be innocent people killed, children killed. Nobody wants to kill innocent people. They don't want to kill anybody.
The Iraqi people. Nobody wants them to be hurt.
Yeah. And that's the sickening thing about it. You know, innocent people like us are going to be killed.
It's not like that. You can't imagine. I mean, I certainly can't imagine my husband killing anybody.
Because, I mean, they're all psyched up, aren't they, when they're there? They've got to shoot somebody if it's one-to-one.
That's it. I mean, that's their job. They're trained to do that. But then deep down, they're still all human beings, aren't they? I mean,
this day and age, there shouldn't be wars anyway. People should be intelligent enough to sort things out without...
Not only that, but nobody actually joins the army expecting to go to war. You know, this is what I'm joining the army for.
They've got to get the job done.
Yeah, but I mean, when they joined up, they didn't expect to go to war, did they?
Well, that's it. I mean, the reason Arne joined, he got made redundant 3 times, and he went to join the army. But I don't think he ever thought about having to kill someone. You know, so...
I think what's worrying as well is, what is their state of mind?
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
Yeah, that's what I worry about.
I worry about
See, I wrote to Arne and asked him, because he wasn't telling me how he was feeling. He was writing of what they were doing, he was on stag. Yeah, but he said, he wrote and said, you know, I can't really tell you my feelings because it would upset and worry you. You know, and that makes you worse because you think, well, why can't he? What, you know, what would upset me and what would worry me?
There's a fear, you have a fear now, but when they go at the ground force, while we're waiting, it's a sort of funny sort of fear. You're frightened, but you're concerned, you're worried, you're just wanting to get over with. I think when they actually go in, it's going to be a completely different kind of fear.
It's the aeroplanes that are in now, but it's going to be us.
The tension is definitely building up now because it's coming. We don't know when, but it's coming.
There's your hat. Put that on like a boy over here.
The week of when it broke out, I felt physically sick. And a feeling of tremendous panic.
Put your gloves on like a boy.
But, you know, you learn from your experiences, and I've seen what stress does to people, and I'm very determined that it's not going to wear me down, really. You know, I don't want to be a complete and utter wreck in 6 months' time. One's got to be in control of stress with children around. My own father was killed in a car crash very suddenly, and my mother is a very strong person. And I think having sort of seen people go through it, and it's made me more determined to fight it in a way, I think.
Just sit down and Edward will pass them to you, or Thompson will pass them to you. Say, please, may I have one? Just stretch for them.
They say their prayers every night, and every night, without any prompting from me, Daddy gets a special mention. Things like, God bless Daddy, especially Daddy in Saudi Arabia. And Michael's been saying all the way along, don't let there be a battle, and don't let Daddy get killed. And, they're, in their own words, they've been, saying their prayers for Daddy, which is sweet. It's lovely. You must go and get all those things in that you took out this morning for your den. Because there's a blanket out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
On Monday, we're going to go up to the Gulf Centre and sit down, Michael, on your chair properly. And they're going to do a video, just like we do videos at home. And you can send a message to Daddy. You can talk to Daddy on the video. Okay? And then they'll send it. They'll get everybody to do it. All the children. Wait a minute. All the children will talk to their daddies on the television, and then they're going to send the film to the daddies in the Gulf. Because the daddies want to see you. They want to see if you've grown, if you're still smiling, if you're being nice to Mummy.
Hello, darling. This is Steve out in sunny Saudi Arabia, as you can see. I'm the first one on the beach and have beaten the Germans to all the deck chairs at the moment. Give my love to Anne and my little daughter Lisa. Hope they're all right, and to keep their chin up while we're out here doing the business.
Hi, Tony. Hope you're keeping all right. Love and miss you millions. See you when I get back, all right?
Well, girls and boys back at Hereford, this is B Squadron, and we're just preparing to go up to the line. We're all well. We've just had our second anthrax jab, and the boys have got a little bit of sore arms, but morale is high. I personally want to say hello to my family, whom I'm missing very much, and I hope I'm going to be, along with everybody else, back home extremely soon.
Hello, darling. We're all coping very well. The boy's been very good. Edward's running the bath every night, all by himself, and getting the others all organised. They've been very helpful, tidying up everything after them, and really trying to help Mummy.
Hello, Dad. We all miss you, and we wish you would come back soon.
Okay. On the cardboard one. The bump, you've probably had a photo by now, but as you can see, it's getting a bit bigger. I'll keep the photos coming, and I promise I won't ruin your jumpers. I love and miss you very much. Take care and come home soon.
Hi, Dad. This is Daniel. See ya. Hope you come back soon, Daniel.
Hi, Daddy. See you. Come back on Monday. I love you.
I'm waiting for you, baby. Take care, please. See you soon. Bye.
To my wife, Kirsty in Hereford, I love you, babe. Miss you, and I can't wait to be with you again. And I know you might not get this, but I love you anyway, and I'll see you in the summer sometime. That's all.
Hello, Steve, darling. All right. Love and miss you. Hope to see you soon, okay? Cheers, darling.
I think it is. I think that's the ring guy with it. Can I go over?
Hi, Jane. Robbo. Miss you like mad and love you. See you soon. Bye.
Hello, ladies. It's the boss here. As I'm sure you'll see from this video, we're all in extremely good heart, and there are no problems with us out here in Saudi Arabia. And don't you worry about the boys. They're all writing their letters back home to you. I know the mail's a bit tricky at times, but they're doing the business for you. And a quick word for my own wife, Diana. Missing you lots and love you lots.
It was late afternoon, overcast, just inside Iraq. The British were preparing to go to war in full armoured formation for the first time in 46 years. This was the battle group of the Queen's Royal Irish Hussars, but other regiments joined it too, which had fought together at Balaclava and we're now about to wage against the Iraqis the warfare of the electronic age.
I've written one letter since Christmas, and I couldn't post it. I got Brian to post it. I can't say these things I want to say tomorrow. I find it hard to write it down. I've got to sit and write this weekend. I want to, but I don't want to put my emotions on paper particularly, because I don't know. I don't want to upset him. Yeah, I want him to know we love him and we want... I don't know. I've got to write. I can't find that in a will to write.
What do you want to say that you feel you can't say?
I don't even know what we actually want to say. I think... I don't want to say... I want to tell him how much we love him, how much we care for him. How much I want him here.
The ground war in the Gulf began at around 1 o'clock this morning, British time.
Allied armour is now surging forward along a 200-mile front. A multi-pronged offensive striking at the Iraqis not only in Kuwait, but also deep inside their own country. It could prove to be the biggest land battle since World War II, as 1 million fighting men face each other across the desert wilderness.
I thought to myself, I looked at his photographs and saw him, I thought, well, will I see him again or won't I? After today, I just felt, yeah, they're playing at war, you know, we knew they were at war and all the rest of it, but I didn't think that the tanks would really ever go in and that. But now, it's really, I don't think it's really hit me properly yet. I just keep thinking, will he be in one piece? Will he come home safe and sound? I've got a partner brave face because of Emma, and she's asking more and more questions. She said to her yesterday, we've saved sparklers even from November for Mark, up on the windowsill there. And she said, have we still got the crackers, Mummy? I said, yes. She said, well, I haven't when Mark goes home. And I think, what am I going to tell her? What am I going to say if he doesn't? You know, you cross that bridge when we come to it. I don't think... It's silly to upset yourself, really, because you don't know what's going to happen. We'll hope it's going to be okay. But at the back of the mind, I dread a stranger coming up here. I dread seeing somebody I don't know in the village, because you know most people. And from here, in the kitchen window, that I can see most people coming here. And if I see somebody strange, I don't know what to do.
Offensive to drive Iraqi forces out of Kuwait is said by the Americans to be proceeding with dramatic success. One American military source has said there's no reason why Allied forces have not already reached Kuwait City. At a briefing, the commander of the Allied forces, General Norman Schwarzkopf, said the Allies had achieved their first-day objectives in just 10 hours. The Allies
they
had
just
said they'd run
surrendered
into only light opposition, though there had been one Iraqi counterattack. The Allies had seen some contact with Iraq's Republican Guard.
Oh God, I wonder
At
who's
the
got
briefing
that.
in Saudi Arabia, General Schwarzkopf also talked about the extent of Allied casualties.
Friendly casualties have been extremely light. As a matter of fact, remarkably light. I want to emphasize, this is a coalition effort. The troops are doing a great job, but I would not be honest with you if I didn't remind you that this is the very early stages and the war is not over yet.
Reports from the Gulf say tanks of Iraq's elite Republican Guard are on the move, ready to confront the Allies.
Allied troops now inside Kuwait are said to be poised to enter Kuwait City, and the Americans say 14,000 prisoners were taken in the first 24 hours of the ground offensive.
Right. Try not to be too long over this. We've all got lots to do.
The only big concern I've got at the moment is feedback from the girls, through Chris Hodges, to me, and this is over the last sort of day or so, is that some of the girls, and how many I don't know, perhaps just the odd one or two, feel that one of us, I think they'll point the finger at me, but whatever, ought to get them together and say something. And as I said, we've got nothing, we know nothing. Yeah. We don't know anything more than what they do. If they watch the news, they know as much as what we do. But then they were saying, well, even if you stood up and said, well, nothing's happened and I don't know anything, they would appreciate it. Well, I thought this was not necessary. I don't think we're achieving anything.
On the P-info side, the information and the press and that, I mean, so far we've been very lucky and there's been no casualties. But should something happen where they are sustained, there is no press line, or the line is that there is nothing said to the press about casualties until everything's cleared through the normal casualty reporting chain. Yeah, right. So if you get approached by anyone from the press, then you just pass them on to division who will deal with them.
Yeah. You know, as we're always saying, we don't want to actually have to even mention the word casualties in front of the girls.
No.
They don't need to hear it at all. And I know they know that we're avoiding the issue, but I think we're doing the right thing.
It's not very easy sitting here waiting for the news, knowing that they're actually out there, probably at this moment, taking part in a battle. Particularly as not very much news is coming out at the moment. I've been preparing myself for all the things that could happen all the way along. But there's always part of you that hopes it won't happen, no matter how much your head tells you that it will. You always cling to the hope it won't.
As the Allies continue their advance in the Gulf, British military officials have reported that 10 British soldiers have been killed in action. Earlier, American officials said they had virtually destroyed a division of the Republican Guard, and 5 other Iraqi divisions have been defeated. As the clashes continued, Kuwaiti soldiers led the first of the Allied troops into Kuwait City.
The wind is rising, warned one small sparrow. I'm sure there's going to be a storm. Let's shout under the eaves, said another. It will be safe and dry there. Goodbye, Mr. Chimney Pot.
It's the worst possible way to be reminded of the mortality of all those who are out there. But really, it could have been any one of them. It's very hard to write to the parents, because You feel that anything you write sounds completely inadequate. No, Philip will write for the regiment. I suppose it's just the female angle. He's got a mother too. I'm a mother. How I would feel if it was my son.
It's 7 o'clock on Thursday, February the 28th, and the news this morning is that President Bush says the war with Iraq is over. All Allied action has been suspended, and Mr. Bush says it could become a permanent ceasefire if Iraq meets a number of conditions.
News? Good news. Brilliant news. Something that we can really take as real, I think.
You've been glued to it all morning.
Yes, of course. First, I almost couldn't believe it. So I woke up to hear this starting on the television. I thought, uh-oh, is this another one? But, no, I think this seems real.
The scars of a military occupation are everywhere. When the euphoria has subsided,
Do you think one of the things also is there must be this feeling of, after yesterday, of complete contrast?
Yes. Yes, yesterday it was a bad day. And it got worse. I mean, you must have heard the evening news with the Fusiliers.
Within the past few moments, we've heard from Baghdad radio that President Saddam Hussein has ordered his troops to cease fire.
We were in a rush this morning.
Well, you don't want to get up late.
Yeah, well, I watched the news. And the boys looked like Christmas, so it was quite difficult getting them dressed out and fed. We had to run up the hill to the bus, didn't we? Well done. Do you want some cucumber on that as well? No?
What about you in terms of your feeling? I mean, it seems a stupid question.
Delighted. I mean, it's a light at the end of the tunnel, isn't it? But I didn't think it would happen so fast. And then yesterday afternoon we got news of the first sort of casualty here. And then I went out to supper yesterday evening and heard somebody else at Fordiff whose son has been killed. And, you know, that brought it quite close to home that actually things were moving very quickly, but, you know, people were being killed in the meantime. There's a lot of excitement, but at the back of one's mind, there's, you know, the worry that people have been killed. And also, I feel sorry for all the Iraqis that have been killed. I mean, there's some horrendous number that have actually lost their lives because of this. And their families all suffering now.
After yesterday, I don't think anyone could have taken much more, even though it was only 4 days. It just seemed so long, didn't it?
It's been the build-up since then, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Waiting for them to go in, and will they go in, and won't go in. And we all had our last phone calls, which was a real sort of hype, and waiting for the last letter to arrive.
I wonder when we'll get the first phone call now. That'd be some phone call, wouldn't it?
Wasting your money
Cost a fortune to cry down the phone at each other. Crying our eyeballs out. I nearly did when I on phone last because he was saying about writing a just-in-case letter to my mum to give to me, and no, don't. I know already.
Right. I phoned my mother-in-law last night, and she said that she's got a really nice letter. And he doesn't really express his feelings very much, but she said that they just sobbed when they read this letter because he said all the things that he should have said over the years and he's never done. He'd said in his letter. She said they just literally sobbed when they read it. You know, the whole family, sister and everybody just broke down and cried. You know, it's so emotional.
Still, we don't need it now, do we?
Nope, we're all right.
They
Chris
can
said-
tell us and show us in person
Well,
when
it's
they
like-
get back.
Chris said he'd wrote one of those letters.
Yeah.
He said we can read it together when we come home and have a laugh about it.
Yeah.
Well, I nearly
'Cause
died
they
when he
probably
told me he
will.
wrote a letter and give it to somebody just in case. You just don't put it in
yeah.
your mind, do you?
I mean, it hadn't crossed my mind because, I mean, we sort of, you know, always tell each other anyway. So I thought, I said to him on the phone, why do you need to write a letter? I know already.
Yeah,
You
but
don't
it's
need
nice
to
to hold
tell
on
me.
to anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Where Calvin's mum said to me that she will always keep that letter no matter whatever happens.
Yeah.
You know, to the day she dies, she will always keep all Calvin's letters, and especially that one, because it means so much.
Well, they're real feelings. That they're thinking that they might not come back, so they're not holding anything back.
Yeah.
You know, they're probably writing everything.
We don't know how our men are going to be affected by what has happened to them. We're thoroughly relieved that it hasn't been as bad as we all feared it would be. But there have been 2 deaths in the regiment and a wounding. And you can't get away from that. There were accidents, injuries beforehand, and a death beforehand, but those were all accidents, but they will have left their mark too. So this homecoming is going to be tinged with an unknown quantity. And that's the apprehension of that, I think, will grow as we get closer to it.
Hello? Oh, Mark, where are you? You're still in Germany. What's going on then? Yeah? That's all right. Well, when will you get here then? Tomorrow? You'll be... Oh, all right then. Do you want to say hello to Auntie Sue? Come on, Sue, quick, because he's money. But you'll be here tomorrow with this other lad. That'll be lovely to bring another boy home. Here you are.
Hello, Mark. How are you? Where are you? When do we expect to see you, darling? Yeah?
Don't forget the ASBAC.
Don't forget the ASBAC, Dad said.
Oh, you want Daddy to have it? You want me to talk to Daddy?
Quick, right,
Here
hang
he
on.
is, Dad.
All right, he's saying don't forget the ASBAC.
6 o'clock.
What, who?
Where am I going to
All
leave
right.
this other boy?
Saying as though you've got a headache.
I said, oh, Brian, I said, he's on his way home. And Brian was crying, and that's something what Brian doesn't do. The only other time I've seen him cry was when they were born, you know, and Brian wants to hear all what he's done and how he coped with it and everything like that. Whereas I'm not so worried about what he's done or what he did. I just want to know that he's happy. It's great, really. He's just coming home. That's all we can say. Back into my nest.
Through the gate, so we don't look it. Ah, wait, we get it first. Good boy.
I feel full of butterflies and jittery and absolutely spastic. Still haven't got all the jobs I said I would get done.
Punch.
Right, where are we going for another one? One's been through all sorts of emotions in the last few months. I mean, it's only 3 months since they've been away. But a lot of water's passed under the bridge since then, and it seems much longer. And I think, you know, thinking about it, it's because one has experienced so many different types of emotion.
What does it say? Welcome. Welcome home, Daddy.
Welcome home, Daddy.
I was definite that he was going to phone, so I sat there waiting for the phone call. And I said to Mandy, you know,
the queue was too big and he couldn't get on it.
It's no excuse, Hillary.
Yes, it is. So don't you give him a hard time.
Yes, there he is. That's Paul Hagley. Well, you can really see that.
They're all going to come back, different people. They're all going to come back affected by it, some more than others. But the thing is, we're going to be different people too. It's not that tangible, it's just the sort of feeling you have inside yourself. We may be having to look at new feelings and emotions within ourselves, things that we've never felt before. We've been exposed, our men have been exposed to terrible things. And with them, we've been exposed to those things, not directly, but indirectly. And whether you like it or not, you're a victim of that exposure. What does it feel like being threatened by artillery fire, tank fire, missiles, bombs, chemical weapons? What goes through your mind if I'm in my vehicle and there is a direct hit? Will I be killed instantly? Will I be mutilated? Will I be maimed for life? Will I survive? Will I not survive? How can we ever get back to a normal life? It's all unknown territory.
You see Daddy? Can you see him?
He's on there.
There's one more bus to come. One more bus to come. I can't bear it. There he is. There he is. Here, boys. There's another one. Kiss for Daddy. Give him a kiss.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You get a couple of more.
Does it, you know, rain in the desert?
I think things are always a little bit different after a long separation, and there's a period of readjustment. But if you haven't been exposed to the sort of things that we have, life does sort of slot into place and go back to normal. I think there'll be a great elation when they first return. But then we're going to have to start living together again. And that's when it's going to get difficult.
there's all sorts of things going through my mind, and I did say to Brian, oh, my baby's coming over. He said, for goodness sake, he's a grown man, you know. But to me, he's still my baby. I mean, I think all mums feel like that. Doesn't matter how old you all get, you're still our babies.
Hey, look, come here with me. Come and see Marky, quick. Oh. Hello, boys.
Right.
Hello.
Mom. Let him go, he'll suffocate.
All right.
Yeah, fine.
What's your name? Hello, Em. Come on, get out. Hello. Say hello to Mark. Come on, Damien. Not frozen.
Come now, Ben.
I know it affected a lot of people, having talked to other people in the regiment. Some husbands were very withdrawn when they came back, and others found they were very restless. Some couldn't cope with the publicity. They found that they'd been welcomed back as heroes, and yet they didn't really feel like heroes. The person that was involved with the people that were killed was very badly affected, and his family understand, you know, what he's still going through. But it, I think, made a lot of us feel that if there'd been more casualties, how it could have affected so many people. I mean, the fact that it was all over so quickly and that there were so few casualties, I think made the people that were going to go back to their original relationships or stronger relationships even stronger. The ones that were weak or were having marital problems, it was the last straw, and they actually suffered marital problems, and there have been quite a few marriage breakups. Nobody can prove whether it's entirely the Gulf or whether it might have happened anyway. He just hadn't changed. We went step back into a relationship, and I think it was in a way stronger because you know, the things that did come out of the Gulf, that one appreciated everything so much more, because, you know, suddenly one was faced for the first time in one's life with the reality that maybe one's husband could be killed, and suddenly, I mean, obviously, you know, nothing like that did happen, but it made one actually sort of very realistic to how thin a line life is.
I suppose we all had a sort of plan of how it was going to be when the men came home. I don't suppose for any one of us it actually worked out that way. I can see that now that the war and everything actually has changed him very little. And probably knowing that within himself, he probably didn't expect any dramatic changes in me either. But there are still things that set me off. And they're always something that is connected with the Gulf. As far as moods were concerned, certainly in the early months when Philip was back, quite sudden swings in mood, from being perfectly happy one minute to being neurotic, tearful. That's settling down now. Although 5 months have now gone since everybody got back, and a lot's happened during that time. A lot of changes have taken place. The Gulf crisis itself is still, in many ways, as close as if it had happened last week.
Why?
don't know. I actually thought that once we had left Germany, I would sort of leave that behind me. But it isn't. It's still a part of life. It doesn't go away. I thought it was interlinked with life in Germany, but it's not. It's interlinked with me, and I can't leave it behind, or at least not at the moment. Not yet.